Hi, my name is Liraj Chaudhary, and today I will be analyzing Funny Boy through a post colonial lens. I would be caught between the boys and the girls' worlds, not belonging or wanted in either. Salvadurai 39. Funny Boy, authored by Shyam Salvadurai, follows a young child named RG in six short stories starting from 6 to 14. RG, while young, has an aptitude toward feminine toys. As he gets older, he navigates his sexuality in a culture and country that condemns homosexuality. While exploring his sexuality, he must come to terms with the civil unrest between the Tamils and Sinhalese. Analyzing Funny Boy through a post colonial lens depicts the struggles and battles prevalent in Sri Lanka. Through language, RG's battles with his sexuality, and the violence between Sinhalese and Tamils, the devastating effects of post colonialism are displayed. Firstly, the use of language perpetuates colonial rule. Great Britain was the last country to colonize Sri Lanka. As such, the sentiment of English being recognized as a status symbol is prevalent. This is shown through RG's mother, who contacts the police after her childhood friend goes missing. RG narrates, the superior officer picked up the paper, looked at it, and then asked Amma in English if he could help her. Salvadurai 123. The original officer that was helping RG's mother was brash and rude to her, yet when she spoke English, his attitude changes, and he asks his superior to address her. Tobias Bernays, in a study, Attitude Towards Englishes in Sri Lanka, says, British English continues to be a variety of English which is highly valued in Sri Lanka. Bernays. The apparent high value of English in Sri Lanka is due to the conquering of Sri Lanka by England. English is correlated with power and wealth, an eternal symbol of the colonizers. Furthermore, people who are able to speak English fluently are rare. More often than not, fluent English speakers are characterized as students who went abroad, another indicator of wealth and power. Thus, English is often recognized as an indicator of superiority, and those who speak Tamil and Sinhala only are seen as inferior. This reflects a colonial attitude that's perpetuated in this day. In addition, the English language is used in schools to perpetuate Victorian morals. This is seen when Black Tie, the principal of Victoria Academy, forces RG to recite poems. In Black Tie's office, RG realizes there were two poems photocopied on them. The first I recognize as The Best School of All, and the second was called Vitae Lampada. I want a perfect recitation, Black Tie said. Salvadurai 224. The two poems which RG saw are two colonial poems that attempted to create patriotism toward the British Empire and assimilate Victorian morals within the Sri Lankan people. The poems were practiced to be recited at a grand event that a prime minister candidate would attend. The effects of the post-colonial rule are evident in the existence of the poems themselves. Furthermore, Black Tie perpetuates the idea that these poems are on a higher level by making his students memorize the poems in a strict manner, solely to impress the candidates for prime minister. Zero effort is made by Black Tie to show Sinhalese or Tamil poems to the candidates. Furthermore, this reinforces the idea that at the highest level is the English language / art, which matters, not the native languages. Without colonialism occurring, these poems would certainly not be held in such high regard in Sri Lanka. Thus, Black Tie tries to appeal to the higher class by making his students recite poems that he believes to be of higher standards than Sri Lankan poems. Secondly, RG's battle with sexuality displays the effects of post-colonial rule upon heteronormative views. Cross-dressing, which was prevalent within the Sri Lankan culture, became abhorrent overnight. When RG was young, he would play a game called Bride with his female cousins. RG loved to play the bride, but he was punished when he did so. Ammachi awaited me with her thinnest cane, the one that left a deep impression on the backs of our thighs, Salvadurai 38. RG being beaten for wearing a sari directly opposes previous Sri Lankan attitudes towards hijras or cross-dressers. Hijras were believed to have the ability to bless. Many would seek out hijras for blessings during important religious ceremonies. Indug. The Sri Lankan people sought refuge in hijras or cross-dressers for blessings due to their divine nature in Hindu methodology. Unsurprisingly, due to their divine nature, many hijras were also given political power. In contrast, colonialists saw cross-dressing as effeminate and limited to acting. The post-colonial rule saw a shift in attitude, one which resulted in cross-dressing being shamed and consequently hijras being discriminated against. Furthermore, in Sri Lanka, the LGBTQ plus community faces heavy discrimination despite common Hindu beliefs. This is shown after RG has sexual intercourse with Shihan and has lunch with his family. RG says, "I looked around at my family and I saw that I had committed a terrible crime against them. I wanted to cry out what I had done, begged to be absolved of my crime." Salvadurai 256. RG sees his relationship with Shihan as a crime because of the effects of colonialism. Yet, it is commonly known that a number of Hindu texts have portrayed homosexual experience as natural and joyful, Hinduism and LGBT topics. Despite Sri Lanka's majority Hindu population, the LGBTQ community is not widely accepted. They face discrimination because the British instilled Victorian values within Sri Lanka. The British see homosexuality as a primal and unnatural act. As a result, the effects of colonialism are widespread and have resulted in many Sri Lankan people regressing in their openness to the LGBTQ community. Lastly, the violence occurring in Sri Lanka results directly from British colonizers. The British colonialists inspired the civil unrest in Sri Lanka. RG describes the terrifying conditions many Tamils lived in, saying the mob had set the car on fire with Ammachi and Appachi inside it. Saladurai 300. The Tamils live in abhorrent conditions due to the favoritism they received in colonial times. The Harvard International Review mentions the Sinhalese community felt threatened by the Tamil group's prosperity, partly due to British favoritism of Tamils during the British occupation of Sri Lanka, the Sri Lankan Civil War. Although the Tamils were not treated well by the British, they were treated better than the Sinhalese. Previously occupied colonies in India and Bangladesh had some Tamil people within them. This resulted in some familiarity with the colonizers when they invaded Sri Lanka, resulting in better conditions for the Tamil people. As such, when Sri Lanka gained independence, the Sinhalese majority felt spiteful and wanted to punish the Tamils. Consequently, many Tamil institutions and houses were burnt down. Moreover, the Sinhalese learned from the British and are administrating colonial rule. This is seen when RG asks his father why his grandmother hates the Sinhalese, and he says the Sinhalese wanted to make Sinhala the only national language, and the Tamils did not like this. So there was a riot and many Tamils were killed. Saladurai 5960. The Sinhalese displayed a colonial attitude as they attempted to destroy all Tamil heritage and language. If Sinhala was the only language spoken, the Tamil language would wean out. In a paper that expands on the role of language in colonization, the author says, during colonization, colonizers usually imposed their languages onto the people they colonized. Shakib 117. Language is a vital part of culture and heritage. European colonizers forced their languages onto others to strip the natives' culture away from them. The Sinhalese are attempting to do the same as they are trying to assimilate Tamils into their own culture. In conclusion, the aftermath of British colonialism is felt in Sri Lanka, and the effects still linger today. The sacrifices and hardships that colonialism establishes a standard can never be met by the Sri Lankan people. It causes them to fight against their own heritage in an attempt to appease their colonizers. Relearning their heritage is one of the key steps forward, or else the Sri Lankan people will live in a constant state of conflict and duress for the rest of their lives. Through Funny Boy, the audience learns about the constant violence that occurs, the hardships the LGBTQ community feels, and the effects of colonialism on language. Thank you for listening to my analysis.